So how are we all doing today? I hope you're well. Monday morning, 11 o'clock. Not had the best start to the day so far. I've been distracted with a few things, but I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Can you just put a note? You should have a little thing where you can enter notes alongside the screen here. Can you just put a note in if you can hear me okay? Just so that I know everyone's got an ability to communicate with me more than anything, I think. So, the Sales Ninja program, of which you're all part, this session today is a relatively short. It's only going to be about half an hour, but in it, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the background to why I decided to launch and run this program. And then I'm going to talk about the structure of the Sales Ninja program. It's a 4-month program that you're going to be part of. And then I'm going to finish with some of the rules of the game, i.e. how I'll expect you to behave and the types of behavior that I'm going to expect from you as we progress through this work together. So hopefully, if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to ask or things you want to know about, then by all means, just add them as notes. Good morning to you, James. I can just see your note coming through there. So let me give you a little bit of a background to why I decided to put this Sales Ninja program on. It's good context for you. I ran a webinar a little while ago, and it came as a result of some thinking I'd had about sales, and in particular how I went about selling over the last few years, and particularly how much that had changed, my approach had changed. And the 5 things I pointed out in the webinar that I believed were critical to being really, really good at sales. Firstly was how your grounding relative to the task of sales. So I find the people that are very natural at selling just have a very strong grounding and a sense of who they are when they're selling. So if I can help people get better at understanding who they are when they're at their best, they actually become automatically better salespeople. The second thing I noticed about good salespeople was they take ownership of their results and they take ownership of the activity necessary to drive their results. So if I could find a way of, number one, helping people to be able to get more things done, but also to overcome some of the barriers to doing the things they need to do, I felt that would be a useful thing for people. And thirdly, I noticed that in myself, my sales results became much, much stronger when I let go of the idea that I needed to sell anything to anyone. So when I began to understand that my only goal was to help the customer make the right decision for them, then it took a lot of internal pressure off me and helped me to just be a bit more effortless and a bit more relaxed around the whole sales environment. Because believe it or not, people that know me think of me as kind of quite self-confident and quite extrovert, but I had huge challenges with selling, particularly in the early days. The fourth thing I notice is the role that rejection plays and the role that our thinking about rejection plays in our ability to be good at selling. And then rejection hits us particularly in 2 key aspects of sales, opening and closing. So the 2 most important parts, i.e. A willingness to engage with people in the first place, and then finally a willingness to ask them for the sale and for the business. And these 2 points of the process seem to be where even professional salespeople often fall down and often struggle. And even if they don't think they struggle with it, there is a level at which they will always struggle with it. And then finally, the thing I noticed that characterized really effective salespeople is they recognize that the only important time is the time that they actually spend in front of their customers, whether that be on the phone, a quick email, or a face-to-face meeting. And everything else was just stuff that needed to be minimized out of the day to enable them to spend as much of their time present to customers. So I've got 4 kind of goals for this sales coaching program that you've joined. First is I want to help you find your grounding. I want you to help you find who you are when you're at your very best. Because if I can help you uncover that and find ways to easily access that, I know that whatever's going on for you, you'll be able to click into that state and be the very best you can be in front of the people that you're trying to persuade and influence towards your product or service. Secondly, I want to help you understand how to easily create strong connection with people, how to see beyond words and actually read someone's language in its totality. So the language that they're giving, as you see me sat here, my arms are waving about, there's a reason for that. Nothing that's happening in my body or in my voice is happening by accident. It's happening because I'm communicating with you. And when you can begin to be present to your customers in a way that enables you to have that level of connection with them, you'll find selling becomes much more effortless. And also, you'll enjoy it a whole bunch more. Thirdly, my third goal for this program is to habitualize good action habits in you. So to help you to just become a creature of habit from doing the right things, i.e. that all of the good stuff in selling, the stuff that really matters, you just become a habitual doer of. Because I've got a very strong belief that it doesn't really matter what mind state you're in when you go into selling. So a lot of sales training talks about creating a positive mind state. I don't think that's as important as just being able to recognize how to go into your grounding and then be present to your customer. So habitual action is just taking action without having to get yourself in a state or in a particular way of being. Hopefully that all makes great sense to you. And then finally, we'll look at some of the skills of selling. So some of the tools and techniques that can be useful, but they're not as useful as being grounded and being connected, but they are useful ways of framing and understanding where you are in the process of selling to that customer. So what I'd like you to do while you're here is just enter in, what do you think out of those 4 goals, this ability to be grounded, ability to be connected with your customer, this habitual activity, this habitual action that you need to take, or just the skills of sales? What's the one thing as you sit here now listening to this you think is important to you? And just put a note in, just type a note into the message box so that I can see what's going on for you at the moment. And also, I did ask a question at the beginning of this that you may or may not have seen, which is on a scale of 1 to 10, how's sales going for you at the moment? So why don't you just enter those things in so that I can see where you're going at the moment. And I may actually bring you into the conversation as we progress a little bit more. So you're probably all curious about the structure of this 4 months. So I'm gonna walk you through the structure. So the program itself starts in November, and there's an important date I want you to put aside in your diary right now, and that date is the 6th of November, Friday the 6th of November. So the reason I want you to put Friday the 6th of November in is that's the launch day of the program. That's the day when we're going to be taking a day out together, and we're going to work through some concepts, and we're going to work through some exercises that begin to really bring this stuff alive for you. On this one-day training course, we're going to focus on a number of things. We're going to focus on, firstly, self-awareness. We're going to focus on getting a deeper understanding of who you are, because you may think you know who you are, but what I know as a coach is that we're not who we think we are. We're more than that. So we're going to do some work around self-awareness and who you are when you're at your very best, who you are when you turn up and really smash it out the park. Secondly, we're going to look at connection skills. We're going to look at what it takes to connect in a deeper way with another human being. So when I say connection, I don't just mean this kind of communication skills. I don't mean binary, I speak, you reply, I speak, you reply. I mean connection. I mean connecting in a way that means people genuinely want to be around you and want to listen to what you've got to say. So we're going to spend some time in that space. And then finally, we're going to come up with a sales plan, a plan that works around how your business works and how your leads work, if that makes sense to you. So you're going to leave with a very concrete plan for the next 4 months of what you need to do and how you need to do it. So that's going to be the 1 day. Thereafter, there's going to be a further 4 online sessions. We're going to use Google Hangouts. So we're going to do something like this. And in those Hangouts, we're going to cover a number of subjects. I'm just referring to my notes if you wonder why I keep looking down to my left. So we're going to cover time management, because I think something of critical importance to salespeople is how they choose to manage their time. And this is very strongly aligned with that idea that the time you spend in front of the customer is the only important time. So we'll be taking a look at how you structure your day, not to try and give you a bunch of tactics, but to help get you thinking about what works best for you as an individual. Because I know that different people are good at doing different things at different times of the day, and you've got to find a structure that works for you. So we'll be looking at time management. We'll be looking at written sales communications. We'll be looking at how you structure, given that in written communication, you don't have all of the nuances that you have with the telephone or when you're face-to-face. We'll be looking at specifically how to communicate with people using email and using proposals and using documents. So we'll be really sharpening your skills there. We'll be looking at some of the principles of selling. Some of you that have worked with me before will know the nice structure: trust, need, help, hurry. So we'll be diving into that, and we'll be diving into that specifically with how you use it. And we're also going to be taking a look at what I call my half-day MBA. We'll be looking at how a business fits together and what that means for how you sell and how you go about building relationships with customers. So we're going to have a 1 day on the 6th of November, and then we're going to have a further 4 online courses. And then on top of that again, you're also going to get 4 one-to-one sessions with me. They're going to be 90-minute sessions. If we can organise them face-to-face, they will be, but if not, we'll use Skype. Those one-to-one sessions are a chance for you to get really personal with me about what's working for you and what's not working, and I will help you through some of the challenges you may be facing. And in those one-to-one sessions, we'll also explore grounding. We'll also explore what is your grounding in sales and how are you showing up for your customers. So the one-to-one bit is potentially one of the most powerful bits of this program, and it's what separates this from other sales training, is a chance to work with me directly on how you show up and the help that you're going to need to get your results right. On top of that, I'm also setting up a LinkedIn group. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you need to set up a LinkedIn account so that I can invite you into that group. And that's a chance for you to post any insights you have, any challenges you're having, any things that you think might be useful to throw this open to a wider group of people. You'll have that tool available to you. And by email, I'm accessible 24/7 for the duration of this program. So I hope you'll see you're going to get a lot of support, because I'm going to be driving you to operate at a different level to where you've operated now. So whatever's a challenge for you, that's what we're going to deal with. But I'll also be holding you to account to a different style of behavior in how you're showing up. And on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, there's also going to be some reading to do. I've picked 4 books, which I think are the most influential and impactful in my life, and it's certainly in terms of how I go about selling. Now, one of them, you'll go, as you probably predict, is The Sleeping Tiger Revolution, is my own book. And I'm going to have expected you, before we turn up on the 6th of November together, to have read the sections on grounding and connection that are in that book. If you haven't got a copy in front of you, don't worry, it will be appearing very soon. I'll be giving a copy to Simon and Alex tomorrow, some copies to pass on to you. And Liz, you'll be getting your copy, although I think you may already have one. The other 3 books we're going to be reading are The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book absolutely changed my life the first time I read it when I was about 22 years old. I bought it at an airport on my way to America, and the book literally changed my life. It's one of the most important books, and what you're learning there will help you in selling and will help you in all aspects of managing your life and your career. The other 2 books are slightly more relevant directly to selling. One is called To Sell is Human, and it's written by a guy called Daniel Pink, and it's a complete reframe on everything you think you know or knew about sales. And the final book is by a guy called Robert Cialdini, and it's called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And in it, he sets out some of the key things that need to be present in order for someone to be persuaded to purchase your product or service, or to be persuaded in any aspect of life. So when you wrap that all together, you see there's a lot we're going to cover in the next 4 months. So what I wanted to do now is just go through, thank you all for posting your thoughts and ideas. So what's going on? So at the moment, sales process is running for James. Your sales process is running about 7 out of 10. And improving confidence as you're getting more familiar with the product. Yeah, this is important. So, you know, the best salespeople do have a really good understanding of their product. And you know, their willingness to throw themselves into understanding it is pretty important. So when you're new to selling something, obviously there's a learning curve to get through. Sales could be better right now. Grounding aspect, or being able to effortlessly access that state. So some of the things I'm going to be showing you are not how to get into a positive mindset. They're how to connect with who you are at your best all the time, so that you're almost, when you wake up, like I did this morning, a little bit distracted, I have a way of just being able to access the state so I can do my job when I need to do my job, and be present and not be distracted by the other stuff going on. Overcoming rejection, and you've got some promising leads at the moment. That's really good. So overcoming rejection is such a critical thing, because it's just a piece of coding that keeps coming up and getting in the way. So we will be doing some real work around that. But just recognizing for a moment where that rejection is coming from, and thinking to yourself, and recognizing this is not real. It's a piece of redundant code. Used to serve us very well when we were living in tribes, but you know, I still get it. I've got some calls to make as soon as this webinar is over, and I can feel, when I start to think about that, I can feel that rejection coding start to play a role in me. With me, my breath goes tight, my hands feel quite sticky, and all I have to do is move past that and do the activity. So it's only when I start to buy into the idea of that somehow has a real meaning for me, that I start to get stuck. When I realize that, well, here it is again, I'm in rejection mode, that's when I'm able to just move past it. One of the principles that underpins what I'm going to teach you in the next few months is that what needs to be done just needs to be done. You don't need to be in a certain state to be a good salesperson. You don't need to be in a certain state to make a phone call. You just think you do. And so what we're going to be working in is that space before the action. Is that, what is that pre-state that stops me just doing this stuff, and how do I effortlessly move past that? And we're going to do some work when we meet face to face. We're going to do some work about that, around how do I step past my thinking to be able to take action. And it really is that simple. It's just recognizing that what's going on in my head, it bears no resemblance to what I need to get done. What I need to get done is this. But if I can trigger my best state, I can just go get that done in the best way possible. So finally, before we finish, I wanted to just talk about a couple of ground rules. So some of you that know me well know that I spent a month in Thailand in December in a fitness camp, where every day I had to go through about 4 hours of personal training and fitness activity. I was on a limited diet, and the rest of the time I pretty much just slept because I was knackered. And And after about a week, I was beginning to find it really, really hard. In fact, there was a couple of points actually, where I thought I would just walk away. And then one day I had a cup of coffee with my friend Nick, who was in the camp with me. And we came up with this brilliant saying, which was, all you have to do here is show up and do the work. And it's the same for this coaching program. I'm asking you for the 4 months that we're working together, that you show up and you do the work. You commit to what needs to be done and you get it done. And there's a reason why that's really important, which I'm going to come on to in another one of the rules. So ground rule number one is to show up, you commit, and you do the work. The second one is that you take ownership of your results. This is linked to, if you haven't watched the sales webinar, by the way, you really need to make sure you've kind of watched it and understood it, because in the sales webinar, I talk about something called above or below the line, and how you show up either above or below the line is critical to your success. I'm asking you, and I will be holding you to account for the duration of our work together, that you show up above the line, i.e. that you don't bring excuses and blame and denial to the table. You bring feedback to the table. I did this, I got this result. And then we analyze the result and we work out what we could correct next time. What we don't bring is excuses why we don't do things and blame and reasons for not getting the results we want. This is really important in sales, and it's actually really important in life. Maintaining an above the line attitude, i.e. I am responsible for the results I'm getting at any particular time. I won't look for excuses, I won't look for blame. The third ground rule is that you are responsible for tracking and monitoring the results you are getting. One of the things we're going to do on the 6th of November is we're going to create, each of you is going to create a tracking dashboard that enables you to monitor at all levels whether you're getting the right level of activity done, whether you're getting the right level of conversion rate coming through, and if not, what you need to do about it. So numbers are important in sales. I don't really like the whole idea of sales being a numbers game. Sales is a relationship game, but the more activity you do, so the numbers should relate to the activity and the outcome of that activity. So you might want to start thinking now about, what data do I need to look at every week, maybe even every day, that tells me where I am, what results I'm getting, and what activity I have to do to get the results that I want. Because there's one extra part in the coaching program that I forgot to mention earlier, which I'll bring in now, is that every week on a Friday, we're going to have a call together. And that call is to discuss your results. So you're going to have a coaching sheet that you're going to be required to fill out every Thursday. And that's going to include putting your numbers in, i.e. what activity happened in the last week, what results did I get, what percentage conversion am I showing, and where am I stuck? And we're going to use those Friday morning calls. At the moment, they're going to be scheduled for 9:30, so you will be getting invitations for the duration of the program for those calls. But those calls are only going to be half an hour, and each of you is going to get 5 minutes on the phone to talk through the results you got. But I want you to talk through them as numbers. I don't just want a story about the week. I want the numbers of the week. So when we meet on the 6th, we'll be designing that dashboard, and that's what you'll be being required to submit prior to the coaching call. So, and the final rule for this coaching program actually is to commit to self-improvement. And the best I can see with self-improvement is it requires three things. It requires a willingness to learn, so a willingness to read the books, to talk and to explore what you're doing, a willingness to go out and play with what you're learning, so a willingness to apply what you learn into practice, and then a willingness to reflect on what happens when you take that action. So we're going to be using that constant three-step process continuously. Have I done the learning? Have I applied the learning? And have I then reflected on the learning and adjusted the way I work. So nothing complicated in this sales program. There is a lot of stuff going to be coming at you in the next 4 months. None of it is complicated. And if there's one thing I'm going to ask you to do, is just to start to notice what is happening. Start to be willing to apply, measure your results, and then reflect on that, and then reapply what you learned back into the process. So you get a nice linear thing going. And my goal by the end of the 4 months is this stuff is so intuitive to you that you'll just carry on doing it without even thinking. So, any thoughts or questions will be a good time to post now. There will be a break in the coaching program between the 21st of December and the 4th of January. So this program will actually run into mid-March, because we will have that 2-week break, because Christmas, I know, is a time where, number one, sales can become quite difficult when you're that close to Christmas. And also for some of you, there'll be holidays and there'll be other things to attend to. And I kind of get that. So we're going to have a sort of a shutdown at that period. So if there is anything that's on your mind at the moment, I'd love to hear from you. You know, you can fire that in. Hopefully this all makes sense. I will send you out an email in the next 24 hours. That email will include the link so you can start booking your one-to-ones in with me if that's going to be helpful for you at this point. And it'll also contain details of the dates. I haven't nailed down a venue for the training on the 6th of November yet, but I will do within the next couple of days, and you'll get all of the details of that. You'll also be getting copies of Sleeping Tiger Revolution so that you can start the studying and learning process. So I'm just going to give you a second just to flag up any questions that you have. There seems to be a slight delay between you inputting things and me actually seeing them. So that's why I'm just kind of hanging on at the moment. But if this does all make sense, and that's really good, there will be a recording of this webinar that will come out to you after the event if you registered, so you can re-watch it, and also so that Simon can watch it and catch up, because I believe he's actually off today. But I'm not seeing anything, so hopefully that does mean everyone's clear. So just a quick recap. The goals of this program are to help you find and stay in your grounding, to help you be stronger and better at connecting with other people, to create habitual action patterns, and also to embed some of the skills of selling so that you're able to really understand the theory that underpins sales. The structure, there's going to be a one-day training course. That's on the 6th of November. And that will then be accompanied by a further 4 training sessions that will be done online. You will have access to book 4 one-to-one 90-minute training coaching sessions with me. And those will be personal for you, either face-to-face if we can organise them around that, or we'll do them on Skype. Either way, they're just as effective either way. And there'll be a weekly Friday call, and there'll be 4 books, 1 a month to read over the process of the program, and we'll be checking in to see what you're learning from those books and what you're applying into your selling. And also there'll be a LinkedIn group where you can post comments, questions, ideas and thoughts to me, and you'll have access to me whenever you need me for the duration of the program. You can email me, or you can use that LinkedIn group. Hey, well, hopefully that's given you a lot more clarity around what's going to be going on for you in the next 4 months. As I say, you'll get some information on email in the next day or so, and you'll also get details of where the training day is going to be. And in the meantime, if there is anything, then feel free to contact me. But other than that, I will speak to you all really soon. And I'm really looking forward to doing this program, because I know that when I help people with this stuff in the context of selling, it shows up in the very fabric of their being in all other aspects of life too. So I'll speak to you real soon. Give me a shout if you've got anything else on your mind, and let's get going with the Sales Ninja program.